aware that you've probably got lots to do. So today's session is going to be a bit of an introduction to EduPod and how you're going to be using EduPod across the academy. So I'll go through what it is and what the function of it, and then go into EduPod to show you how to get started. We've also got some time frames as well, some deadlines for submission of your self-assessment audit tool. So we'll go through that as well. So I'll just share my screen. Okay, so EduPod is the online platform to support schools with creating a whole school approach to mental health. So this is very much around a systemic approach, and it's basically a one-stop shop for you guys to gather all of the information. You're probably already doing a lot as it is, but it's a way to collect everything together, but also measure the impact and also record your journey. So when we talk about the whole school approach to mental health, it's a culture. So it's built upon empathy and relationships, and it's also really important that we look at evidence-based practice. So this approach, and you already are doing it because it's the ethos of the academy, but it's embedding that within the curriculum, the policies and procedures across the school. So they are inclusive and they are flexible to support and respond to the community's mental health needs. So a good example of this is particularly like something like your behaviour policy. It has to have some level of flexibility in there to be able to respond to everybody's mental health needs. So there might be particularly children that come across quite disruptive, but it's due to probably their emotional mental health needs or something's gone on at home. So a typical approach that you might see in mainstream education, for example, like detentions, are not necessarily going to be the best intervention for this young person. So with this approach, it's about creating the flexibility to create that therapeutic relationship. So you're shifting from more punitive approaches to therapeutic approaches. So your role isn't to do everything. So as designated safeguarding these, you already have a lot going on, but your role is actually more of this, in this particular aspect, it's more about a strategy. So it's taking your school on this journey and pulling things together and delegating certain aspects to other people. So you need to be able to have an ability to influence decisions. So you have to have a seat at table or be line managed by somebody that has a seat at the table to be able to put this therapeutic aspect and the whole school approach to people. You also need protected time to do this, so it'd be as a part of your current role, but you'll need to spend time on EduPod, and you also need to be able to access resources. So the access to resources, you'll have support from Innovating Minds. So there's the ability to get in touch with us and ask for consultation. It might be around specific things going on within your school. It might be that you're thinking about maybe a sensory room, or what equipment do you need in the schools, or is it that you've got teachers or some staff members that are not really on board with the journey that you're going on. So that's open up for you to speak to our team. So we're a team of psychologists and trauma experts. So there's a lot of support and also resources on EduPod. So there's four main functions of EduPod. There's a self-assessment audit tool, and this is based on 5 principles that relate to our clinical experience, but also Public Health England and Department for Education's recommendations. There are pre-generated surveys as well, so you can capture the voices of your students, teachers, governors, and caregivers. There's an action plan section in there, and also there's resources where we've filmed other schools, other professionals, people sharing their stories around what they've done to implement the whole school approach. You'll get the good, the bad and the ugly with this. So hear from other people's experiences. It's not an easy journey. And remember, it is a journey, so it's not going to happen overnight. So you don't need bags of action points. Even if you have 3 that term, that's okay, because they're moving towards the long-term strategy. So this approach is all about sustainability. So we're not interested in those like plaster interventions where it actually isn't getting to the root cause. So that's why it takes longer. But with this support, you're able then to audit yourselves and re-audit, but you're also able to get the community voice, and you're also able to strategically plan what your intervention is going to be. The reason why Orchard Hill have asked all their schools to have access to EduPod is because you've got an overall arching mental health strategy for the academy. So they want to put in place the tools and the support, but you'll be able to action that as a school, but also recognise that each school is going to be different. You've all got different unique challenges. You're all at different points of your journey with this. So EduPod will give you that structure of kind of, this is the direction you're going in, but the organisations or how you do that, you've got some flexibility with that. Now, there's an accreditation process attached to EduPod, and the first kite markers are committed. And by October half term, you're going to be asked to submit the first self-assessment audit tool. To get the committed kite mark, you need a score of 2 or more across the readiness and motivation principle. So that basically shows that the head teacher's on board. It's really important that head teacher and the senior leadership team are committed, but also support from the governors, and that the mental health lead has been identified, so that might be yourselves. Ideally, we know that the schools are in this place already, so I don't see why there's no reason why every school shouldn't be awarded the committed kite mark around about October, November time. There is an application process, but it's, if you put everything into EduPod, it'll be literally cutting and pasting it out of there to put in your application. So everything is done really simple. We don't want to create extra work for yourselves. You might also then find that you're actually in the achieving and moving on to excelling kite marked accreditation. So achieving is where you get 2 or more principles, an average score of 2. And the reason why it's an average score of 2 and not 3 is because we recognise it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be other competing priorities. There's going to be some times where you take a step back in particular areas. And it's unrealistic to think that everything's going to be perfect within the school settings. It just never is. And then the excelling is when you can reach across all 5 principles. So we're going to be taking you through this, and we want you to get to these places. Also remember, it's a journey. Any questions before I take you into the platform? Okay, so let us know if you've not received your login details. Emails did go out over the summer, but you'll basically come to a screen to log in. When you log in, everything will be blank because there's no data in there at the moment. The first thing that you need to do is complete the self-assessment audit tool. So if you go into the left-hand side panel, this is where everything is for you. And you'll create a new assessment. When you sit down to do the self-assessment audit tool, try and get different representation. So somebody from senior leadership, it might be a teaching assistant, it might be a teacher, somebody in the pastoral team, so you're not doing it on your own. Complete this bit, so name it, it might be initial first assessment audit tool, give it a bit of a description, put in the date that you started it.
Sorry, Asha, I forgot that. Asha, when I click on self-assessment tool, all it says is, this is embarrassing, contact us to add. There's nothing, I haven't got I'm looking at what you've got in front of you. All I've got is a box with a drawing of a girl, and it says you have no self-assessments created. I haven't got anything else.
What school are you from?
St Philip's.
Okay.
That's what I meant by being empty, as in I don't have those questions or anything.
Okay, I'll take a look into that after this session. So,
okay.
So when you fill that in, what will happen is I'll go into one we've created. You'll come into this type of screen. So here you can put in your current school statistics. We'll also be collecting wider data from Orchard Hill. So what we've seen is that it has an impact on attendance, but that's staff and students. It'll also have an impact on exclusions. And the reason why we're collecting this data is so you can measure impact as well on what your strategy is doing. These are your 5 principles for the self-assessment audit tool. So this is a readiness and motivation one. So when you go in there, you'll see some descriptive statements. They are really prescriptive because you either have it or you don't. It also enables you to have this conversation on the table. So you can use EduPod as a way to have these discussions. You can see the little icon here, which gives you more information. You RAG rate it, and you can add additional notes. We suggest you do put in additional notes because this is where, when you come to review, you can see why you scored yourself in that area, but also it'll be the evidence that you need to submit for your accreditation process.
Who was Juliet last year?
Juliet. Yeah. Oh.
Leadership and strategy, you can see, is in different subheadings. It's particularly important around the vision that, well, can I just ask that we mute ourselves? So the vision is really important. So a lot of the time, the senior leadership team or the people that are leading on the strategy have a vision in mind, but it's not communicated. And as a result of this, people don't really know what's going on, in the sense that they're not aware that the school's investing so much support in mental health, emotional well-being. And then you've got your policies and procedures. If you have any fixed term policies or zero tolerance policies, there is a place for this within the education sector, we have seen. However, we do ask that they're continuously reviewed to make sure they're still doing what you initially set out for them to do. There's also a section for you around the mental health lead to make sure that you've got access to the support and networks that you need. Staff recruitment, so this is where you might get in touch with your HR team to see that whether when you are going out to recruitment, that the vision and the selection process includes mental health related questions. That helps to attract people with empathy and understands your approach that you're taking. After completing the self-assessment audit tool, or whilst you're completing the self-assessment audit tool, you've got this survey function here. So you can go into the surveys. And these are pre-generated surveys. To send these out to people, you copy the link. So this one is for primary students. This one's for secondary. If you're working in secondary, but actually feel the primary survey is going to be more suitable for the level of development, then send out the primary one. So you've got the choice of what you send out. You've got the staff, caregivers, so for parents and carers, and also for governors. So to have a look at the questions, press open. You'll see this text here, and this will be your school logo. So when you load your logo into EduPod, the school logo will start there. So there's 10 questions in each survey. Each question links back to one of the principles within the audit tool. So this isn't about asking children how their own well-being is in terms of, are they feeling quite low? It's really important we don't ask any of those types of questions for safeguarding reasons. The survey is anonymous, so you won't know who's completed it, but you'll know how many people have completed it. They literally just tick what they think to the statements and submit the survey. So you can send out these links to people to start the ball rolling. After you've completed that, you then go into dashboard and reports. Find your survey, your self-assessment audit tool that you've been working on, and analyze the results for you for the principles in the self-assessment audit tool principles. So you can see a breakdown in terms of where your areas of strengths are, but also the areas that maybe that you want to focus on working on. These principles are in this order for a reason. If the school and the team are not ready and motivated, nothing else much is going to happen. You're going to be knocking on a door that's closed and get quite frustrated that you can't keep trying to put things in place and it's not working in the long term. So when you come to do your action plans, we recommend that you do it in these order. Because if everything else is in place, naturally then support for staff and students come in place, because the culture is of that everybody's signed up to supporting staff and students' mental health. You can do a deep dive into your results, into each principle, so you can see where you scored and also where you placed yourselves for each individual statement. You'll also get your survey results. So you can see how many people completed the surveys, and you can see where your self-assessment audit tool, where it rated on average against each principle, but also what the students said. So you might analyse the results where secondary students felt like they didn't feel the school was ready and motivated to help their mental health. It might be it's just not being communicated to them what the school is doing. You'll also see here for the action plans, a bit of a snapshot. So if you're supporting somebody else or you're line managing somebody and you want to see how well you're performing on your actions that you've signed up to do, you can do that here. You can also download the report as a PDF. So press download report and it'll come up as a PDF document. Now this is entirely up to you whether you want to share your results with Ofsted or anybody else. So it's thinking about as a school, what do you want to do with that? You can also compare your results. So when you come to reassess yourself, you might want to have a look at the progress that's been made, and it overlays the data for you and also compares the survey results, because you'll send out the surveys a second time around. Once you've understood your results, you can go into the action plan section. Each action plan links to your self-assessment audit tool. So every time you do a new review of your self-assessment audit, you'll create a new action plan, because your actions will change depending on where you currently are. If you click on the recommended actions here, some actions will come through that are recommended from us based on your results from the self-assessment audit tool. So you can have a look in those in terms of what we recommend in terms of some action steps. And if you want to add that, you just press add task. You can edit those. So you can go in, you can change the task status. You can also tick them off when you've completed them, and you can leave notes as well for each other. You can also go in there and assign it to different people. So the people that are connected to EduPod, and I'll show you how to add users, you can assign it and update it. This is a really good thing to have in place if you want to demonstrate the actions and the journey that you've been going on. So you can evidence everything to say, this is where we was at, this is what we've done, this is how we've done it. So everything's in one place for that evidencing. Finally, you've got the learning resources. So the learning resources are bite-sized CPD, whether it's video, PDF documents, web links, to basically give you an idea of what you might do in particular areas. So you can filter them based on the principle. You can also filter them and put keyword searches in as well, or link to a type of resource.
Well, it's a really good question. Who should be the mental health lead? My first answer to that is that they have to have a passion for it. This is not a bog standard teaching role, and this is a role which is all about a very particular type of pastoral support. So a real passion and an interest here. Secondly, it's got to be somebody who has the ability to think strategy and to manage and lead a whole school. This is not a job that you just give to a teacher who's passionate about it. They must have these skills to be able to look at a whole school plan and actually think leadership strategy, student strategy, staff well-being strategy, working with parents and external agencies. Then are excellent managers, because they are going to be managing the mental health first aiders. They're going to be managing the heads of year, the heads of houses. They're going to be managing the teachers.
There's lots of different resources. There's also resources from children as well. So where we've been filming children, it might be about worry eaters. So if you're thinking about how to use worry eaters within the classroom and you want a child's perspective, then you go into the video and see as well. So there's lots of different approaches. There's no right or wrong. It's doing what's right for the school and for your school as well, and to meet the needs of your children. So the user management side of things is where you'll go in and you can add account users. So you've got up to, I think it's 7 people that you can create a user for. Put in their details, their email address, create a password for them by clicking this box, and then giving them their details to be able to log in. You can restrict what access you give them. So school admin means they get full access to the platform and they can edit. You might want people to only have read only, so they can look in there but they can't change anything. Or you might have it where they just can access the resources only. So it's up to you to decide how you want people to be able to use EduPod. Now there's a few other things I'm just going to show you. So with your action plans, it might be that you want to share your action plans with your wider school, but you don't want people to edit them. So if you click on this button here, share, copy the link. If you give them the link and they put it into URL box, they'll be able to view your action plan, but without editing it. So this can be quite handy if you want to send them on to Jackie, or if you want them to send to the leadership team or the board of governors to just give people an update of what you're working on. It'll come up here, they can go into it, take a look, but they can't change anything. When you come to re-audit, so you come to do another self-assessment audit tool, when you go to create assessment, you can import results from a previous one. So if you don't want to start again, so some people prefer to start from scratch, so they're not influenced by anything. Some people prefer that actually let's import the results from the previous one and then go through it and change it. So you just click on the one that you want, pull through, and it'll bring that data through for you. There is a help center here. So click on the help center. There's some articles of how to use EduPod. You can also submit a request to us. So click the submit request, type in what support you need. That'll come through to us and we'll get in touch with you. There's also a get started video here. So when you come into EduPod, if you kind of think, actually, I don't know where to start, you can click on this video and it'll take you through the process which I've just gone through with you. So I'm going to open it up. Has anybody got any questions or want to know more? You can't break it, so don't be afraid of the technology. And if you accidentally delete anything, get in touch with us because we might be able to bring it back because it does a soft delete. Amanda, is there something?
Yeah, sorry, I think I missed what you said about the login details. Where do I find my login details?
So we sent an email to. So what we'll do is we'll resend them out. So Susie gave me a list of email addresses for the, I think it was for the designated safeguarding leads.
Okay, I'll probably just need to trawl back through my emails then. It'll be in there somewhere. But if you are able to resend it, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Thank
we'll
you.
Also check your access levels as well. Make sure you have got full access to EduPod. So there's 2 levels, the EduPod Tracker and EduPod Pro. So you have got the full access.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? The self-assessment audit tool is where you need to start. Any worries about completing the audit tool or feeling that you're going to be asked to do it all yourselves? No? Okay, so we'll be monitoring your journey. So we'll be getting in touch with you as well, just seeing how you're getting on. So don't reach out to us and ask if you need or want any clarification on anything. Jackie, is there anything from you that you want to add around using EduPod?
Hi, Asha. No, I think you've made it really, really clear. But obviously, if things come up as they go along, you know, I'm sure DSLs and users will speak to you, but I will also speak to you because in the supervision meetings, I will do some audit work and on EduPod 2 on